The best laid plans for buying laid out for you this morning. Don't make it hard. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes, episode 515. Myself, Michael BURGIO, Mark Novak, the plan to a perfect buy. Let's talk about it this morning. There is a good little graph we'll put in, an image of sort of the pyramid structure from thinking about buying to buying that we'll put in, but I think we're both on our devices, so we can't add it as a screen. We did find it somewhere, so we can't take full credit for it, but we'll take credit for the descriptions of it. Mark, good morning. Happy birthday
morning,
for yesterday.
I reckon I can bring this. This diagram up.
On your other phone. Yeah.
I reckon I can bring it up. So, you know what? How does it go? So, you're a prospective purchaser. You've got the seed. You're thinking about it. Where do you go? Where do you go? What do you do?
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people, they wake up, they have obviously, I reckon that buying process could be a year long. And I reckon the first couple of months can be really, really hard, just like the last couple of months of that process if you don't have a plan, because what's going through your mind, and we're coming from an angle where you're average Joe, you're not in real estate, you may not know an agent, so you don't have the resources that, say, you and I would have, or friends who ask us. So they just sort of wake up one day and they start Googling, but they're like, well, how much can I borrow? Where to buy? I hear all this stuff. And you don't know where to start. You're so lost. There's so many things in life at the moment. Think about if you want to lose weight. There's so many people out there pushing a fitness plan. You want to go from A to B or A to Z. Here's your plan. You want to do a degree. Here's your plan. But when it comes to sort of real estate, it's almost like fend for yourself. There's not many structural plans from what you should do from the moment, just like a fitness plan. They're like, you wake up, you eat this, you do this. So there's a good little downward pyramid to help sort of, obviously there could be pyramids within pyramids of this, but this is a decent little plan and line to help you through the process. And at the start, it's basically a macro argument and then a macro and micro. So your macro is your bigger. Let's start with, what state do you want to buy in? Is it Queensland? Is it New South Wales? Is it Melbourne? And then once you've identified that, whichever Mark and I agree or disagree, or whoever, just narrow it down. We see far too often people going, well, I'm thinking about Sydney, but New South Wales. I'm also thinking about Queensland. Maybe I heard WA is good with the mine. So it's like, let's just make it simple for yourself. Pick one state. Then you pick a suburb within it for whatever reason. It could be because you grew up there. It could be you want to live there one day. You like it there. Whatever reason, just go down this path. And then, because then you go from, instead of having 7 states, you've got one. So it's easier to pick something out of 1 than 7. Then from one state, 1,000 suburbs, you've got 1. So that makes it a lot easier, because as you go further down from the state to the suburb, to the street, because then I want to be on the eastern side of Pittwater Road or the western side. I feel like there's better, blah, blah, blah. Then you can dig down, because the key difference and where people go wrong and right in property is they don't do enough due diligence, because they're juggling too many potential properties all over the shop. So you may do this pyramid on 10 different properties, 10 different suburbs, 10 different areas, but at least you're being consistent from top to bottom, where it goes to due diligence, negotiation, and blah, 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 down that way. Because then you've got a good funnel of information, and then you can look back and go, okay, I like that. No, this one's not for me. Go on to the next. But Mark, we see it so often. People, they're juggling a property in Queensland, Melbourne, one in Sydney, one near their lives. And then they may get to that sort of, they may think they're getting a good deal because they're just tired and exhausted of juggling so much, and then they just buy. And Luke is partly right. You just buy, but there's getting to that buy. People don't just wake up and go spend $1 million unless they feel confident that they've at least gone through some method to get there. If you just closed your eyes and bought a property, you're not going to probably feel that good. Yeah, 20 years later, but if you don't come from A to Z through your own plan, it may be 3 steps. You may have a 30-step plan, but have something there. And this pyramid can give you a little bit of structure. Some people may go through that period in one day with property. Some people may take a month, but have at least an outline. So when you come to the end, you can come to a conclusion if it's good or not. The key thing where Luke is correct with just buy, once you've ticked all the boxes, you don't just sit on your hands and do nothing, second guess yourself, wait 6 months because then the market's changed. You got to redo it. That's where you come to just buy, but you got to sort of get there. And I think in the industry world, there's not many people giving buyers a simple 10-step program or even any guidance to do it. So I saw this was useful, and I see it as a gap in the market. So hopefully it helps.
Yeah, look, guys, I think, when you peel back to when I first bought a property, we're witnessing people buying a property every day, all the time. I think a lot of it is there's a process which we're talking about. I think a lot of it is a mental process, and you've actually got to realise that you can do it, and you do have the confidence, and it's not scary. And look, people are not adverse to risk, but the appetite for property and the appetite for buying something, I don't think you have to feel bad. I think it's the most terrific investment that someone can actually make. So I think a lot of this Burge is also a mental barrier to get through
Yes.
to say, why can I do it? I can't do it. And like you said, it's like losing weight. Physically actually doing it as opposed to physically the breakthrough, super, super important, and a great cause,
Yes.
like a great cause. It's your financial future. It's securing it for later. And look, today's not about plugging property and you really should buy and you really should buy. It's more about, getting that squared off in your head, that it's actually not that complicated. And that chart that we showed at the beginning of the show, if you just follow those steps through that, it just less complicates things a lot.
100%. And yes, people can fuck it up just like anything. People can spend a year researching how to lose weight, the best way to do it, the best diet, and they haven't done anything. And the time they spent studying losing it, they could have already lost it, even if they chose the wrong path, but just did it consistently. Same with property. You could fuck up, pay too much in your perceived mind at an auction. It went crazy, went 50 grand more than what you thought, but let 10 years pass, let 15 years pass. Even if it doesn't go up in value, which it will, more than likely based on everything, but even you living in your own property and owning it, you're going to have probably that benefit, because over 10 years, that's 5 grand. You can't tell me there was not $5,000 of benefit of living in your own home, especially a time like now as well. So, yes, you don't want to overthink it, but you want to at least be able to rationalize why you came to that decision.
But I've been an agent for 27, 28 years, and this is to make buyers who are just about to buy take the anxiousness away. What salesperson sells a product that there is zero unhappy customers? Like, for 28 years, I have sold property, and I have never had a customer come back to me and say, you sold me a lemon. Never, ever, ever. So take that confidence when you go to buy and think, I can't do wrong, because you know what I mean? No one's ever said, this was a shit investment. I shouldn't have bought this. What was I thinking? Why'd you sell this to me? No one says that. And that's that you can take that confidence and go, man, if I buy something, look, I'm Northern Beaches. I don't know if the rest of Australia is like that, but certainly, Northern Beaches of Sydney, if you're going in to buy something like that, you're not going to regret it.
Yeah, and that, at the end of the day, our economy, we've got a robust property market, and obviously not every country is like us with property. Some are like that with other industries. There's some countries that's a lot more It's a lot more entrepreneurial. Bankruptcy does not mean what it means here. So they like encourage you to try and start something if it fails or doesn't. Like here, we're not sort of like that, because if you go bankrupt, it will affect you buying a property. So less people are willing to take that plunge. More people are
Yeah.
willing to buy property. So we get that. Also, it comes back to when you pick your state, pick your suburb, like how I said, there could be 30 points under that. Well, picking your suburb that has growth on true reasons. Like, don't anyone who bought where there was a mine, and I think a lot of it is rural, but market went up, mine closed, market went down. You can identify stuff like that with that process. But also, you got to be honest with yourself why you're buying it. If you know, yeah, you're buying it because you want to own, live there, and maybe retire thereafter, or plenty of reasons. But it's just having that process. And we're fortunate, especially Northern Beaches, even if you screwed up the property, if you gave it enough time, it made money. Like we've had 50% growth in houses in 12 months. We've had 130% growth in houses in 10 years. 10 years is not a long period of time.
Yeah.
Like in 3 years, it's been what, 80%. What's that? On $1 million,
We've
it's
always
doubled.
said it.
You
We've
could knock
always
the
said
house
double every
down.
10 years. Yeah.
Mark, you could have bought a knockdown for 1.2 4 years ago, knock the house down, and the land would be worth more than what it was. So when people say you can't go wrong, you could. Where can you go buy a car or buy anything and knock it down and it still be worth more? Like get that through, buy a car, take the wheels off. Do you think you're going to sell it for more,
And,
or strip the doors? So it is very risk proof. There's a lot. Just because, and it may not be like this for 200 years, but it's definitely the market we're in now. And so
and the
you're either
reason we're
jumping on the
telling
horse or you're
everyone
not.
that, yeah,
Sorry?
and the reason we're telling everyone that is to give you that assurance that when you get into that market, when you invest more, when you buy, you're going to feel good about it. So just take that move and put that one foot in front of the other, and don't be reserved. And it's also running on your verge. If you don't, whatever you don't buy today, you're going to pay more for tomorrow. So, the sooner that you guys can get into the property market, don't worry about. I think a lot of people, Michael, now are worried about buying at the top of the market. It's
Yep.
a big concern for people. But if you're buying from peak to peak, it's double. And if you're buying from low to low, it's double.
But it's also look at you've also got, well, if it comes, are you buying it to live in or an investment? Yeah, pricing is high, but the cost of that money is so much cheaper. You can almost afford to pay more if you do believe it's the top. And let's say it does come back 30%. Let's say the house you bought for your family went from 2 million to 1.5, but you can still afford the mortgage. Then do you really care? You need a roof over your head. Like it
And
is
if you're
what
in
it
there
is.
for 10 years, it's going to double. So don't
Yeah,
stress.
10, 20 years. So I think people, they like to think of the long-term plan, but then they stop themselves short with a short-term plan. Like I'm buying it long-term investment, but what happens if it goes down in 2 years? Oh, I shouldn't buy it. But what if I say it's going to double in 20, but for those 18 years up to the 20th, you're going to be negative. Would you still buy it? That's probably a very good, genuine question. And I don't think a lot of people would. If you were to hold it, buy a stock at $1, and it was going to sit at 50 cents for 5 years, but then it would go to $4, would you do it? And could you hold? Like,
So plan to the perfect buy. Do you want the plan again? Do you want to see it again?
yep. And what Luke says, life is leverage, 100%. Especially what is more about buying, even if you think the price is going to go down, the way like I said, you need somewhere to live, interest rates are low. Our tax system is set up to benefit people who own a property, how the banks lend money. Even if you don't agree with how it is, that's how it is. Negative gearing. If you check Dr. Andrew Wilson out, or so there was some post which basically said, even what is it, Liberals, Conservative, the Labor Party has even now, I think, conceded to leave negative gearing alone because of big, whatever reason, they're not pushing it. We've had this lingering, for a couple of years that negative gearing is going to go. So all avenues point to bumping up the property market. We're seeing it very much so now, and I've said it many times. There's only a few pillars of cash we have in for an economy: tourism, education, construction, and then property, stuff like that. And there's only a couple open. So it's almost like
in
betting against the
summary,
house.
So, in summary, before we sign off, the plan to buy a perfect property in conclusion is?
Well, the plan is to make a plan. And if your plan is, we just put a really simple one off. We took off a property investment group. I think it's got 5 points. You can have 5 points. You can have 3. You can have 40. Just make a plan. And then, as Luke says, once you're at the end of the plan, just buy. That's as simple as that.
Get in there, kids. Get in there.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Burge.
matey. All good.
Sarah,
Bye.
love you.
Cheers.
Bye.